Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater, here with some interesting news for you. It's a bit of a brief update coming out of Netflix in regards to the future of the Marvel series that are currently on the platform. Now, with the cancellation of Iron Fist the other day, it made a lot of people go, "What is going on right now? I don't get it. I personally don't understand it. How could this be a thing?" Well, ultimately, again, the thing you have to remember here is this is not like Iron Fist being canceled wasn't Disney's decision. All right. Like, period, at all. Point blank, full stop. It never was Disney's decision. When they came to the agreement with Netflix, much like any network, owns the rights to distribution in that particular regard. They're the ones who choose to renew it or not because they've signed that exclusive contract. It's kind of like the fact, like, take Last Man Standing, for example, just to give you a brief example. It was on ABC, right? It was canceled after its sixth season. A lot of people were like, "What the hell's going on?" And it ended up being brought back over to Fox a year and a half later, or a little over a year later. And that ended up being a good thing for Fox. Is doing well over there right now because ABC didn't own the show. Fox actually owned the show. They just licensed it to ABC, who ended up putting it on their network. Isn't that weird how that works out, right? Where it's like, you figured like Lionsgate owned Mad Men, right? But it was on AMC. Same with Breaking Bad, that was owned by Sony, that was on AMC. No, that's how it works. I just wanted to give you guys a bit of information on that. But here's what we know. It says Netflix comments on the future of Marvel shows. It says, while the impending release of Disney's streaming service, which will include its own original programming, it's easy to worry about the fate of the Marvel Netflix shows. Many believe Disney will find a way to nab those shows for themselves, and that the recent cancellation of Iron Fist, despite a much improved second season, was the first push of the ball down the hill. While Netflix owns the rights to the shows Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, The Defenders, and The Punisher, what they intend to do with them has been up in the air since Defenders, meant to be their Avengers, arrived with the whimper. Since then, the heat has died down a bit around the shows, but that doesn't mean Netflix is ready to jump ship anytime soon. Netflix Chief Content Officer Ted Sarandos says that they intend to stick with their current slate of shows for the foreseeable future, low voice, or until Disney hands them a check. It says here, those shows are for us to cancel, and we're super happy with their performances so far. And that's true. They are happy with the performances. I don't know why people rag on The Defenders. I thought The Defenders was fantastic. The 8 episodes for that season was great. I mean, oddly enough, Sigourney wasn't in the whole thing. But I thought it ended very well and set up Daredevil season 3, which does drop in a couple hours, and I am so excited for it. I'm going to try to make my way through it this weekend, hopefully. But the thing to remember here is that Netflix is in charge. Right. And so right now they're restructuring. Iron Fist as its own season was meant to just tie into the Defenders. I think they wanted to keep the Defenders going and then maybe have the characters kind of roam in and out of each other's series. Very similar to what the CW series does with the Arrowverse, right? How they have their independent shows, have a couple crossovers here and there, and then have a big Christmas time crossover event that ends up being this huge thing that everyone really likes working on. And that works for them. And I think Marvel is looking at that, but for maybe a different lens at this point in time. So what I think they're going to do is they're obviously going to keep Luke Cage. They haven't announced season 3 yet. It's expected that they're going to announce season 3 soon. I don't think they should do season 3. I really don't. I really honestly don't. I thought Bushmaster was the best part of season 2 of Luke Cage. Luke Cage season 2 was far better than season 1. At this point, I still don't understand why people think that Iron Fist's first season was the worst. It was, yeah, maybe not the best in terms of acting or fight choreography, but the story was engaging and kept you interested in what was going on. Whereas Luke Cage, like, you get halfway through the season and it flips and becomes this whole different thing, complete with just horrible dialogue and such a slow pace that it didn't need to be 13 episodes. It was a slog to get through. But season 2 of Luke Cage was badass as hell and was a lot better because they learned from their mistakes, similar to what Iron Fist season 2 is, right? People who love Iron Fist season 2 who hated season 1 because the way that they evolved the character of Danny Rand. So my theory is this. I think they're going to keep Danny Rand and Colleen Wing and keep them around in different shows. Like Misty Knight was a big part of season 2 of Iron Fist. Just like Colleen and Danny showed up a couple times, or at least, well, one time each, in Luke Cage season 2. These characters are going to bounce in between, but I think they're going to do a Heroes for Hire, and I think they're going to do a Daughters of the Dragon. I think they're going to do Heroes for Hire because Danny and Luke Cage work well together, right? Finn Jones and Mike Coulter work well together, and they have good chemistry. Their bromance brewing in the Defenders was awesome. Those are some of my favorite parts, to see what was coming, right? The budding of that bromance was awesome to see. And then the chemistry between Misty Knight and Colleen Wing, fantastic as well. So I really want to see what's going to happen with that. I think those are the shows they're going to do because they're going to want to keep them around, for one, to mess with Disney. They don't need the money, by the way. They make a lot. I covered that yesterday. Netflix is making about $4 billion a quarter, and they just went up another 7 million subscribers. Daredevil drops in a couple hours. The reviews are already looking really good. Stay tuned for the RT recap of that. And a lot of people want to see these shows continue, and they come to Netflix for them. And I think as more Marvel shows make their way to Disney and the Disney streaming service, I think these shows are going to remain. That is, unless, in the article made a point to mention, unless Disney hands them a check and buys them out. I don't see that happening, though. Not unless like Feige outlines this plan where he wants to get them back. They decide they want to get them all back under the same roof. And everything else. But until then, Netflix is going to keep this going. If anything, just to spite Disney. And yeah, I'm actually kind of, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I love these shows. I want to see them continue. I want the Defender season 2. I think a lot of people want the Defenders season 2. The characters are now fleshed out. There's no more of this building a team. They can come together. They are the team, and they're able to fight. And I think that's going to end up being probably the best thing for them in putting together a good villain. So I hope Joseph Loeb has got that going, brings the Defenders, and then, hey, look, there's a wild Punisher appears and gets them all together for just a magnificent, epic, if anything, finale, like where it's going to be Fisk, where Matt Murdock and Frank Castle take on Fisk and finally end his reign, so to speak. But then again, Vincent D'Onofrio really wants to get in on a Spider-Man movie. Everyone wants that, by the way. They need to find a way to make them all work together. And if that includes Disney buying out Netflix, I don't think Netflix would probably trying to buy back the show's rights. Netflix has enough original content to where they might go, okay. But at the same time, this is kind of what put them on the map in regards to some original content, and fans really, really love the shows on there. And Netflix very much prominently features those shows because they know the amount of views that they get is probably not something that's going to end up going away anytime soon. But those are just my thoughts on it. Curious to know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments. Do you think that that Netflix is going to do a Heroes for Hire or Daughters of the Dragon? Do you think that they're going to do a Defenders 2? Or are they going to start, they're going to keep the show separate or start consolidating them to like I said, Heroes for Hire or Daughters of the Dragon, or maybe another show where they just kind of make everyone kind of move around with each other? Or would they be willing to sell the rights back to Disney in order to move away from that and focus on their own original content, which they already have in absolute spades? So anyway, I leave it to you. Leave your thoughts below. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This has been 3 Buck Theater. If you guys made it this far into the video, type Daredevil into the chat so I know, and we'll definitely talk again soon. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one, and peace out.